I'm Hannah Moore, CFP, a practicing financial planner and educator. I'm on a mission to change the way people think and talk about money. Let's get started. I had a client call me yesterday, and she was walking through her situation. She's in a really unique, very dynamic, lots of things changing situation. And she went out to dinner with a friend. And so she was sharing with her friend some of her financial concerns. And her friend said, well, you should just do X, Y, and Z. And so my client and I were talking, and she's like, my friend said I should do this, but I just don't think that fits. And she's exactly right. We see this a lot with our clients who are getting advice from other people. Now, what's really interesting about getting advice, specifically financial advice from other people, is it is often a reflection of their situation far more than whoever is asking the question, right? So let's think about this. There is so much that goes into your financial pictures. So there are the dollars and cents. There is your, starting out, there's your baseline budget that you're spending money, right? How much money is coming in, how much is going out. So you have your salary. Now let's take it and the next layer. What is your earning potential? What are you in line for a promotion? What does your larger kind of financial picture look like from that perspective? Another layer is, do you have money saved? Are you working with do you have a financial plan? Do you know that you are building up a sustainable level of wealth for yourself and your family? Are you looking at going back to school? Are you looking at making major changes? There is so much that goes into decisions about your finances that are so nuanced. Now, I say all this. I'm going to take a step back here. There are some financial principles that are pretty standard, right? The fact that you should be spending less than you make, right? That in general, that's a pretty common one, and certainly one that I subscribe to as a financial planner. That is generally what I want to see. But now I'll tell you, I have had clients where that has not been the case, where they have been overspending what they make, but we knew that, and it was okay. It was part of their plan. Now, certainly that's an outlier. Certainly that is the exception rather than the rule. And there were lots of other circumstances around that client situation that made that not even. I've had a couple of clients that do that, but that's made that unique to their situation. But even all these rules of thumb that we kind of live by, from a financial perspective, there are caveats, there are nuances to these things. So we have, spend less than you make, pretty solid principle. Save for retirement. Y'all, I have some clients they've inherited money. Saving for retirement isn't in their financial plan because they don't need to. That's just kind of the reality. And again, that's a super, super fortunate, privileged place to be without a doubt. But there's a lot of financial advice out there, and getting it that's customized to you is so, so important. Again, here's all the time from clients who are like, I went and talked to so-and-so. Now, when people are giving you advice, it usually is from a standpoint of, hey, this is what I would do in my situation, right? And of course, most people forget to say that part about giving financial advice, but we see it often. Another just recent example that we've had is with a younger client who is buying a home, and their parents, so they have a pretty good insight into their situation. The parents were, insisting that you should absolutely, without a doubt, get a 15-year mortgage. And this client, when we were working with them, was walking through all the different things, and they're like, yeah, maybe we could do it, and I understand the numbers. I see the numbers. We talked through all the reasons why to get that 15-year mortgage, and they decided not to. They decided to get a 30-year mortgage. And what was so powerful is seeing this was the client was able to say, I understand why they say this, but here's the differences in my situation, and here's why we want to do this. Now, we still may pay our mortgage off early, and here's all the various, kind of factors that play into that. But he was able to separate out the advice from his situation from the advice, and recognizing that different advice is going to have different different kind of situations that go with it. Another thing that I hear often is, what should I do? I got a bonus from work. I got, these things. And again, a lot of people are very, very well-meaning when they give advice of, you should save that money, or you only live once. Go take your family on that vacation. It'll be a memory that you have for the rest of your life, right? Both of those are true. Both of those are good things. But how do we distinguish which one is best for you? Well, let me take a step back and let me maybe reframe this. Instead of just saying, be careful who you take financial advice from, how about we say, okay, how do we give good financial advice, right? We do a lot of teaching for other financial planners of helping them teach this. And one of the central things with giving good financial advice is that a client doesn't just come up to me and say, well, what should I do with this money that we have? And I have an answer. My job isn't to have the answer. My job is to have a really good question. So if somebody comes up to you and says, hey, here's my situation. What do you think I should do? Ask them questions. Ask them, what is it that you want to do? Like, do you have a plan for saving for your goal? What are your goals? What does that look like for you? Are you on track to achieve them? Could you fast track them? Is something else entirely possible with this? Like, let's get into what is it about you and your financial situation, and let's paint this picture. Because once we know what that picture is, we're going to know what should happen with your money, right? And so good financial planners, good friends, I would argue as well, are going to hear questions of what should I do with my what should I do, right? I'm looking for financial advice. Help me out. What should I do? It's take a step back and start asking questions. Ask questions about what is the picture? What does this look like? What are all of the pieces at play? Because only until you know those pieces at play can you give good advice to a specific person. So let me give you guys just a really tangible example of something that I see. Again, I'm a financial planner. There's a million rules of thumb, right? One of the advantages of working with a financial planner is we see lots of different perspectives, right? I get a peek into so many people's financial lives and see what works in general versus not working. I get to have this nuanced picture of so many people's financial lives, which gives me the perspective to offer hopefully good financial advice once I know a client, understand what their goals are, help them think through, really be a thinking partner for my clients. It's a huge advantage. But there's lots of rules of thumb from financial planners, and there's research to back this up, right? Like, we are not just out here just willy-nilly now, just saying, like, here's the 3 things you need to do for your financial life. There are academics, PhDs that are like in their offices running simulations, running this research. It's so cool. Like, y'all, we could talk about that for hours, and I would be so excited about it. But we make very informed decisions now. So, like, a lot of the recommendations from a financial planner should be backed by research, right? Huge hill I'll die on that, because that's what we need, right? Especially when we talk about investments and all these other things. But one of the things is I see with my clients is, when do we take Social Security? So if you're younger and listening to this, you're like, wait a minute, Hannah, what are you going on and on about Social Security? Like, it's not even going to be there when I'm around. Well, that's a whole nother conversation as well that we can have. But I look at Social Security and I say, okay, in general, it is good for somebody to take Social Security late. So you have early at 62, you have full retirement, which we're all like, really now it's like 67, and then 70 is late retirement. And so if I can push somebody to wait till 70 for Social Security, that's generally a really good thing for their financial picture, because if they live past the age of 82, we know that they're actually going to be taking more money out of Social Security. It's going to give them longevity risk, and lots of research to back this up. In a split strategy, if you're married, where the higher income earner takes it at 70, the younger one, or the whoever is lower income takes it at 67, or what varies based on their situation, but like a split strategy. Okay. That is, in general, the advice that I like to default to, because it's backed by research. It's generally good. There's lots of really, really positive things with that. Now, there are client situations oftentimes where we're going through this, where this is not the best advice for them because their situation is different. So let me give you a couple of just really tangible examples. One, we had a client recently who wanted to take Social Security, and he told me, he's like, I'm taking it early. I'm taking it at 62. Now, there's a lot of reasons why. I'd say, hey, now that might not be the best decision for a lot of reasons. Like, can we talk about all, whatever. But he talked about his parents and his dad and how he died having received one Social Security check. And that's not who he wanted to be. And you know what? He's right. It doesn't matter the mathematical equations. There's so much more to his story. There's so much depth. There's so much more nuance to his story that makes that advice my standard kind of off the shelf advice that I would have around Social Security, that changes it and adapts it to a client situation. I've had a number of clients who've had challenging working situations where they're looking to make a major change, where we've adapted this strategy to really fit their life. Because at the end of the day, your life should be driving your money should not be driving your life. And when we start giving out canned financial advice to people, their money starts dictating their life. Their life has to fall in line behind their money, right? It's crazy, right? We don't want to do that. We want to say what's important to you. What are the values that you have around your money? Let those drive your financial decisions. And yes, we need to know the research. Yes, we need to know all of this. We need to have the best practices, but they're there as something to compare against. That does not mean that that's going to be the best advice for you. So going back to kind of the theme of this podcast of why you should be careful, or being careful around who you receive financial advice from. Be careful because you're going to be getting a lot of their situation. Now, I have had people who've played that to their advantage of saying, I want to be like them. So what would they advise me to do? And that's still great information to have. But at the end of the day, what you need to do is take it and compare that advice against who you are. What are your goals? What are your values in life, right? What are the things that you hold most dear to you? What are those pieces that you have in your life? Figuring out what those are and building your life and your finances around that, that's where the magic is. And that's where financial advice can just be so incredibly powerful. And I would say life-changing. I've seen it be life-changing for my clients. And that's where the magic is. But it's centering it around you and your situation. And the only way to do that is to really dive into what your situation is. So this may be permission for you to, somebody who's maybe giving financial advice that doesn't resonate. You can just be cautious about it. You can listen to it and say, okay, that's not for me. But definitely be intentional around your finances. It can sound intimidating, it can sound overwhelming, but I promise you that if you find somebody you can have these conversations with, it can make a world of difference and give you just the peace of mind, the confidence, and just the clarity that you need to make for your financial life. So good luck as you guys do this, and know that you don't have to accept all the financial advice that's out there, especially if it's for everyone. Definitely focus on those customized pieces of advice for you. Thanks for listening to this episode of Everyday Money with Hannah Moore. If you like what you heard, subscribe and check out livewealthynow.com. We have a lot more resources to help you live wealthy now.